Y'all got this. I believe you. Don't make me take my belt off, okay?
That was good. That was motivational. Don't take your belt off. We don't want to get whooped. This is What School Didn't Teach Me, a podcast meant to build community on all the things school doesn't prepare you for. Hi, I'm your host, Jasmine Kiamber, and class is in session. Welcome to the classroom. It's your host, Jasmine Kiamber. And if this is your first time, welcome to What School Didn't Teach Me. This is a place where we come and we talk about all the things that school literally does not teach you. Like, there are so many things that we learn in school. We learn about English, history, science, math. We learn all these things, but we don't learn how to maintain interpersonal relationships. We don't always learn how to like budget and finance correctly. We don't learn how to, set boundaries and say no at the right time. Like, those are things that we can only learn in the school of life. And so I started What School Didn't Teach Me so that we have a space to come and talk about these things together. So if this is your first time here, I don't know how you found us, but I'm so glad you did. And I'm so glad you deemed us worthy to listen to. For the one time, if you're new, but then like if you're an OG, you already know how I feel about you. Today, I have an OG in the classroom, y'all. Like, y'all know I am a classmate like everybody else, which means I love bringing classmates into the classroom. It's like my favorite thing to do. And so I have a classmate with me today, like an OG. Like, when I first started the podcast, if I didn't have no fans, she was my one. So I'm so glad to bring and introduce Miss Julia Davis.
Hey, you're really on here? Yeah.
No, I'm so glad to have you. I'm like, literally, this has been 4 seasons coming. You were bound to be here.
Yep, it's always been a dream, Like, I was like, what if? I'm like, nah, girl, you don't be talking about nothing for real.
Oh my God, you could have said something. If you was just like, you know what, I want to get on here and talk about that, I would have been like, heck yeah. I literally was like, how can I get Julia on the pod this season? Like, it's got to happen. Like, it's got to happen.
That was like on my list, like literally like one of my goals of wanting like things that I want to do, but it was a quiet one. I was like, I can't.
Oh my gosh.
It gotta come natural,
Oh my gosh. You could have just said something. We would have been had you here. I'm just like, okay, you don't be want to, like, some people don't like to be like on screen or on camera. So, you never want to scare people. But for those who don't know, me and Julia went to high school together. So we have been around each other for, how long ago was that? I hate to do the numbers because it makes me feel old, but genuinely, high school was like,
it's going to be almost, from the ninth grade. Ninth grade is almost 10 years ago, which is crazy. Next year, 10 years from ninth grade. But yeah.
Okay. Well, we've known each other dang, girl, we've known each other 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is wild. To say that we've done anything for 10 years is wild. When we went to high school together, and it was so crazy because literally we were friends in high school, and then it was like, you have your friend group, I have my friend group, and then when God called us to each other, it was just so easy and so seamless. Like, and we've been flying ever since. I want you to introduce yourself, and then we'll go into like the theme for this season, and then we'll talk about why you're here today and what we're talking about today. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Julia.
Hold on. Okay. Well, she already stated my name is Julia. Just a little bit about me. I love to start off by telling people I am the oldest of 7 kids. So yes, I am an oldest daughter. I'm raised by my father, just him by himself. I have a nonprofit that I'm actually very passionate about called A Pledge to Children, where we just love giving back to the community and throwing community events, and it just being a safe space for those in the Los Angeles and specifically South Central Los Angeles area for marginalized people. I'm currently in my master's program.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yes. Congratulations.
May, which I'm actually very happy about. I like to say I'm an advocate for marginalized children, and I'm just an advocate for education. So.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And by the time this episode comes out, you will have graduated, because that would be so exciting. Okay, no, I'm a liar. This episode comes out April 1st. But that gives us an opportunity to really shout you out and really do it up when you do graduate. She graduates May 16th, y'all. We're excited. We're really excited.
Yes, I am.
I'm really excited to have you here today. And I really see and appreciate the way that you show up for children every day. Like, it is clear that is not only what is it, like, not only a passion but a calling. Like, it is clear that you connect with the youth well, and it's something that God has graced you to do. And so this season, the theme for this season is represent and represent. And so it's been really, really important for me to highlight certain people and certain voices that literally live as a form of representation. And so literally you came to mind when I was thinking about this episode, because I'm sorry, thinking about this season, because you are so multidimensional. Like, there is never been like one side of Julia. And so that is something that I love and appreciate, but it's also something, it's also almost like a way that you give back to your community. So I want you to talk a little more like, you talked about your academics, but there is so much more to you. And so I want to kind of get into that. I know you mentioned Uplifts for Children, but I guess I want to ask, where do you feel like your passion for children, marginalized youth, kind of come from?
Where did it come from? I feel like I've always been someone that loved helping. I loved helping people. Like, that was my thing. I loved giving back. Like, any way that I can just help people, it just brought me joy. And I think it did start off from my own experience, like just me growing up and the things that I've been through as a child. And when I got, and I don't want to say older, but maybe like around middle school, I started seeing that, and not that I wasn't the only one, but I started seeing some people that I feel like can connect with me. But I also knew that I wanted to do something different with my life.
Mhm.
And as the years like progressed onto high school, I started realizing, and also just seeing some of the friends that I had like go on their way, because unfortunately the community we grew up in, they just became a product of the community, where I wasn't trying to become that product of the community. Although it's like, I come from here, this is who I am. I wanted to do something a little different, but I didn't have that guidance. But I was making sure that I was going to just figure it out. But I knew for a lot of my peers and a lot of the friends that I had, that just wasn't the case for them. And I wanted to be able to be that person for my friends. I wanted to be that person that, unfortunately, I don't want to say save, but I wanted to be able to help. Like any of those youth who just know it's another way. It's another outlet. You don't have to become a product to the community. You don't have to fall into those same ropes, because that is just what's normal and that's what you're used to.
We grew up around the same area, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's so common and honestly so heartbreaking when you can see the people around you. It's like, okay, I see your potential. I see what you could be. And I see, like, when we're young, we have so much hope. We have so much hope. We have so many ideas and an aspiration about who we want to be. And then to kind of see sometimes that gets by the pressures of our environment and what we feel like we have to do for survival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so I know you were saying you were in an environment where you kind of you didn't want to become a product of your environment. You wanted to be something different, but there were a lot of people in your area who maybe didn't have that same vision. How did you know that you wanted to be different? Was there something that you saw? Was there, like, what kind of was your exposure to, okay, I don't just have to fit myself into this box of what I see?
Okay. It's actually very funny. When I think about that, I had like an itch of proving people wrong. I'm trying to break out of that as an adult. But yeah, I seen people who thought like, oh, like you're gonna do the same old stuff, you're gonna just be like everyone else around you. And it was that itch of like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, it was, I'm just gonna prove you wrong. So you have to figure it out, because you're gonna prove them wrong, and then they're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, that's literally what kept me moving. Like, that's literally what pushed me along the years. Like, oh, I'm ghetto. Okay, just wait. Let me show you what this ghetto girl can do. Period. Like, I'm gonna show you. So that's literally what kept me pushing. Let's prove.
You know what? And you know what? That's it. Literally, when we but you're saying, like, you kind of had that kind of exposure in like middle school, but in middle school, that was when people were saying like, haters are my motivators. So technically, you was on the right track. Yeah. You and the path that you're going on right now, do you see how that affects the people around you? Like, not even with, okay, yes, you have an education, but it's like you work in corporate and you are fulfilling your own desires. You are following your own dreams. You are starting an empire of your own. Like, you are so clearly proving that there is more to life than the ghetto, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that first part one more time?
Do you feel like the impact that you're making, do you feel like the people around you are seeing it? Do you feel like, the people who you grew up with who maybe didn't go the same route as you, do you feel like they kind of see what you're doing and are affected by it?
Yes. Yes. From like since, and I would say this is just also from high school, but the people that I like who didn't go to school with us,
Yeah.
they always stated and always like spoke light into me. And these like my friends, we're all the same age, and they're just motivated. And it was, I think it will not, I think, but it is a nice thing to see and to know, especially still like now. It was people always telling me like, man, you motivate me, like you do so much. And I'm like, what are y'all seeing? Because sometimes I fell out of that, like, oh, I'm gonna prove them wrong. Sometimes I did started believing the naysayers and the haters, like, dang, maybe I can't do this, maybe I won't be able to do it, how am I going to do this? But it was always the times where it was like we're playing outside and they all like, yeah, we about to go fight. Oh, okay, I'm gonna come too. No, Julie, you're not like that. And I'm like, huh? Like, what you mean? And like, nah, like you're not finna go down this route. And it's the same people that's only 1 year, 2 years older than me. We all teenagers, but y'all all seen something. So then it was like, okay. And then as like the years progressed, it was still like, even still, like I would get text messages like, I always knew you was gonna do something. Like we knew this was who you was. This is so fitting. Like, I'm so proud of you. And it's just like, man, we really the same age, but you guys are like, y'all seen something. And although I kind of seen that a little bit, I just didn't know how I was gonna ignite it.
Yeah.
They tell me all the time. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's crazy you said that too, because just like 2 weeks ago, I was out and it was a game we were playing, and it was with some friends, and it was a girl I barely even spoke to. We went to undergrad with each other, and it was like a game where we was pulling off. It was a Galentine's. Yeah, it was a Galentine's.
Oh yeah, okay.
I guess on the card, she had to say something nice about someone in the room. And then I'm not really her friend. We didn't really speak to each other. Like, we don't even follow each other on Instagram. Like, we just had similar friends. And she turned to me, and she's only a year older than me. She said, I admire what you do for yourself and the things that you do to advocate for yourself. I admire you for that. And it caught me off guard, because I'm like, I never really spoke to you. We don't follow each other. You don't even know what I do, honestly.
Yeah.
Us having mutual friends. So it was just like, that kind of was like, all right, we got to keep going. Like, we got to keep going.
Yeah. Literally, that, first of all, that's beautiful. And I'm like, it reminds me that at any moment, you literally never know who's watching you. You never know who's watching you and like getting inspired by you just doing whatever you feel like is routine. Like how you show up for yourself might be regular to you, and then might completely inspire the next person. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was. It's a beautiful thing, and like it was just those little things of people telling me that, like older cousins, way older. I had a cousin tell me she decided to go back to school because she was like, if my little cousin could do it, I could do it too. And she like 5 years older than me, and I'm like, dang, like I didn't even know I was like motivating y'all in that sense. It was just like, I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna make it, how I can be different.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I think that's beautiful. And I think that is why I think testimonies like that or conversations like that is why I pushing for these kind of conversations or pushing for the concept of representation, because quite literally you never know who's watching you. You're advocating for yourself. Like, you are making sure that you don't end up like everybody else, and people are watching you. Yeah. So I want to talk to you about your work with the youth now. Like, what do you feel like, because right now you work with youth and you work with high schoolers, and I
I work with high schoolers, but I don't work with high schoolers every day. And so I can only imagine, like, I really give you your props because they love you. Like, and that's that's not hard to do when you are genuine. That's not hard to do when you show up. That's not hard to do when you show them that you care about them. But in the beginning, it could be hard to get youth to open up. And so I want to know what your experience is like. You don't have to tell us like where you work and like what you do, but like what your experience is like working with the youth and how that has affected or motivated you in any way.
Well, it was hard in the beginning, and I was actually really nervous because it was my first time ever working with high schoolers. I've always worked from K through eighth, like K through
Okay.
eighth.
Yeah.
I was more comfortable with elementary students, but it's also because of how young I am. But got the job, so I'm like, let's do it. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna do it. We're getting there, and it was hard. Of course, I had a couple of students that gave me a couple of attitudes. It was like, even I asked them to this day, like, what was your issue with me? Yeah, I was
Yeah.
wondering what high school student they done hired. And I'm like, what? Yeah, you just looked really young. And I'm like, dang, y'all was just hating on me because I'm young, like, which is
Yeah.
crazy. But I think what got them comfortable was I just started showing who I was. I was like, okay, let's stop being nervous because I was scared. It was like, y'all don't know me. I know y'all was a little nervous and scared, and I'm scared too. This is my first time working with high school students. Like I was
Yeah.
scared, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just show them who I am. I laugh, I make jokes. This is where I'm from. Like I make sure not to hide it. Although I was told before, like, don't tell people you're from South Central LA. Just tell them you're from LA.
Why?
It's there. I was just told because of the stigma that they have on people from South Central LA. Like,
Okay.
they may start acting away because once they find out where you're from. But at that point, it's just like, I don't care. This is who I am.
They being the kids or they being like
Other people. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm like, I don't think I've heard. I mean, I think I've heard. I know for a fact, like when people ask where I'm from or where I live in LA, I know people get a certain, like people start making little fake accents when they realize where I live in LA. Like they start trying to sound a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that I've heard that like they might, I don't know. I don't think I realized that was a thing. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
People got biases for everything. No, I believe you. People got biases for everything. So I believe you. I'm just like, oh, wow. Like,
yeah. But I still was like, you know what? No, I'm not about to hide or try to act like I'm from a nicer area of LA just because, like, oh, I don't want y'all to think some way. It was like, no, I showed them where I was from. This is who I am. And I connected with them by just letting them know, like, I'm not just this random person who's not from your area, who doesn't understand the things that you're going through, who just, or if she does just act oblivious, like, oh, I don't remember, I don't come from that, like I'm better than that. It was just like, no, I was you. And once I started just actually talking to them, answering their questions, because that's what it was. They was asking me questions. Where are you from? What school you go to? And I'm just laughing, I'm joking, but I'm still answering the questions. They started to warm up and was like, okay. I realized they were able to connect with me, like, okay, she understands. Because then it also was comments from them like, yeah, people they dealt with before, they weren't from LA at all, or they just didn't understand the circumstances or the things that being a youth and sometimes a Black youth or a marginalized youth in South Central Los Angeles, they don't understand some of those barriers that we have. And I was able to pinpoint it and just be that representation for them. Because I realize it's really hard when you do see other people where you want to be, but they come from your area. It's sometimes a little defeating sometimes because it's like, you're from here, okay, to be expected, you went on this path of life. And I had that same issues growing up too. It took that one person from Compton, California, and I'm seeing she went to China. And I'm like, wait, what? You went to China? I ain't never even been past Crenshaw.
Yeah.
And she was telling me her experiences to be able to, and that pursued me to continue. And just being that person for them, like, yeah, no, I was able to do this. I did this. I was able to push through, but still staying true to myself.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm like, you saying good stuff. So I'm writing stuff down because I'm like, hold on, we got to run this back. Yeah. I feel that on both ends. I feel like on one end, I remember growing up and having better connections with teachers, admin, adults who made it very clear that they could relate to me. And even if they did not directly relate to me, made it very clear that they tried or they care, you know. And I feel like there are a lot of people who work with youth but don't make the intentional effort to connect, but instead try to tell them, like, I know what you need, this is what you need. Not necessarily, I know you're going through a whole life of your own and you need extra support, but instead almost like barking at them, you know. And so I remember being a student and experiencing that. But even now working with youth, it's like I had that same thing where it's like, okay, if I just show you who I really am, if I just I like to say, like, if I use my youth to my advantage, because the truth is, like, you be close in age with the people that you work with, you know. And so instead of it being like, I don't know about you, but I know for me, I experienced a lot of nervousness and anxiety. Like, are they going to respect me because I'm young and we're so close in age? Am I going to be able to relate to them? Because even though we're close in age, you know, there are generational differences. You know, there are things that they might laugh at that I don't understand, or XYZ, which weirdly is not always the case because of social media and we're all interconnected that way. But I know that was definitely my experience starting to work with kids.
Yeah. I was very anxious. Like high schoolers, because I was last year. I was 20. I wasn't even 21 yet. Yeah. And I was only a 3-year age gap between the 12th grader and me. And I'm like, okay, 3, 4. Even now, some of my students, it's only a 5, 6-year age gap. So a lot of the things, like we share TikTok sounds. So I'm singing, oh, you know that, miss? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah, make a TikTok with me. You know, it's like, okay. And I will say I use that to my advantage.
Yeah.
I do. I use it to my advantage because I did realize, like, and they even told me that too, because I'm a very big person where give me feedback. Let me know how I can.
Yes.
I'm trying to help you. Just give me feedback. Let me know how I can help assist you. What do you need from me? And I remember asking them, like, hey, how am I doing? Like, do y'all think I could do anything better for you guys? And it was like, no, we love you. And I'm like, okay, like, you sure? Like, I know, you know, I play around a lot, but, you know, on the serious note, like, really, is there anything more else that I can help you? And they were like, no.
Yeah.
They told me, and this is verbatim, it makes it better for us to know that you're closer in age or that you understand us.
Yeah.
And that's what made me realize it was that lack of understanding. I make it my job to be able to understand them, but also hear them out. Unfortunately for me, I didn't really connect with administrators or even adults in school, but I think that's my own personal issues, which is why. But I was like, okay, how can I help high schoolers or even students be able to connect with me, or how can I? And I realized for me, I just I didn't feel like they were actually hearing me, or they were actually trying to understand and learn who I am. It was like you're saying that I'm barking at you. I know what you need. I know what you want. You're not, you know, and it was like that
doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah.
This is like, what? How you gonna tell me the life I live? Like, you don't know what I've been through.
Right.
So I take it like my job and my role to be able to learn you, understand you. Who are you? Let me know. I don't know who you are, and you do too go through things. I hate you're a child, stay in a child's place. You don't know life yet.
Yeah.
I hate that, because it's just like those things, even if it's the smallest thing of, oh my gosh, she said my hair is ugly. They haven't experienced that other side of life, so they don't know, like, oh, this is such a small thing.
Yes.
So it's so big to them at that moment because that's all they know.
Yes.
So yeah, take their issues seriously. You know, it's serious. What she did? What? Your hair is beautiful. Oh, not, I don't want to hear that. That's nothing. Because I see that a lot too when it comes to other administrators and teachers. They just like, oh, I don't want to hear that. Don't come to me about it. But it's like, come on. I know I may feel like, because my grown self, like, this is so dumb. In a couple years from now, it ain't going to matter. But I'm like, this is important to them right now. So let me tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, my mom used to say that. And I think it helped her connect with me growing up, but she used to say, like, the thing about kids is their biggest issue right now is the biggest issue right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't know, even though we only so many years older than them, we have the wisdom to know that, like, nothing is the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, in the moment, in a lot of moments, even when I was growing up, it was like whatever was happening right then was all that mattered. There was no future if we did not get past this moment. And so I think validating their experiences, it's no wonder why they love you, you know, and why they respect you. And I also think it's interesting how, like, the things that you think are your weaknesses or the things that you feel like might make you anxious, like being so close in age, being from a similar environment, actually ended up being your strength. I feel like that is a common thing. I feel like a lot of times God puts us in places and we go through this issue of, like, imposter syndrome, and we go through all of this anxiety when it's like, no, and literally everything you've been through has prepared you for this exact moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I'm hearing from your story.
It has. I'm not here for no reason. Literally, God put me here. Like, I realized, like, this was my calling. I had realized it was my calling on accident. I didn't anticipate me ever working with children. I was just like, I don't know. I know I want to help people, but I don't want to work directly with the student. But I actually love being very student oriented and actually with the students.
Yeah. Why you didn't want to work with the students?
I don't know. I don't even know. I think, well, actually, I do know. The experiences I had with seeing other students and children and the way sometimes they talk to adults. But along my journey, I also realized, like, okay, what was that adult also doing? You know, of course, it was a lot of things that played into factor with the relationships with students and adults from the schools that I was at. But I was like, oh, I would never. The way they be talking to so and so. Oh no.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. But then it's like, oh, okay. It's like you be having to think about yourself as a youth. Like, okay, I wasn't acting like that for no reason. They probably weren't acting like that for no reason. Like we were saying earlier, not administrators. Sometimes adults don't validate youth. And I'm like, I love the fact that you mentioned like when people used to say, like, you haven't lived enough life yet, because that used to kill me. And that's something that I struggle with even today, like validating my own experiences or my own fears or even my own wisdom, like feeling like I have, or feeling confident enough to, like, be bold about whatever I'm doing, because for so many years it was, you ain't lived no life yet. So it's like, okay, well, at what point do I get to start being wise? At what point do I get to start applying the life that I've lived? When whole time, a lot of people spend their whole lives recovering from or adapting with whatever they went through as a child.
Yep.
Like, youth sets your foundation for life.
Literally.
Yeah.
That's the most, literally, I had learned in undergrad in one of my sociology class, and I remember this class. I love this teacher. It's sociology of child and family. And she stated the most important years is your childhood years, the youth years, even from the ages from 0 months all the way up until you're 5 years old. Like, that makes you who you are, and then past that, that goes into adulthood. That's always going to carry onto how your life, how you respond to things, how you react to certain stuff, the way how you communicate, how you build relationships. And I remember learning that and was like, whoa, like, what?
Yeah.
So it's so important. Like, youth is so important in the way we communicate with them, the way we talk to them, the way we hear, we validate them. They're not just these pets, you know, because some stuff like them is pets. And then it's like, you're 18 now, go ahead, do what you.
And what am I supposed to do? Yes. Yes.
Like, what? I know that happened to me. I love my dad, but it was like, oh, you're 18 now. You don't got to ask me to go anywhere no more. I would still ask because I'm like, I done went 17 years having to ask all the time. Hey, can I go here? Can I do this? Can I? And now you tell me I don't have to ask no more. I just have to tell you. I'm not comfortable. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
All because I just turned one age, a 1 year difference from 17 and 18. Now I'm an adult.
Yeah, no. And it was like I know a lot of people, especially in high school, and it was like, oh, okay, their parents let them live with them, and it's like, okay, you can live with me, but then at 18 you got to have something figured out. And it's like, but there was no life preparation, there was no like communication, there was no proper communication, there was no nothing to ease me into adulthood. You just want to throw me out here when my whole life you've been treating me like, you know, like you said, like a pet. Like, yeah. So I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful the fact that you are able to show up for your youth, but then the fact that you hear them, you validate them, you let them know like the life that you live, even if it's just that your edges is out of place, like that matters right now. Like I care about that because I feel like that shows them like, I feel like that shows them, one, that yes, somebody's listening to them and cares about them, but then I think that also helps them get over it too. You know, like I feel like when we invalidate people, it makes them blow the issue up bigger. But when you're like, oh, okay, I hear you, I see the problem, it makes people be like, oh, okay, but it's not that big a deal, thank you for caring, and then they move along. I wanted to ask you, I feel like you kind of answered it, so hold on. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, I know you said that there weren't a lot of administrators that you necessarily liked growing up, but did you have any like superheroes, role models, any people that kind of inspire you to show up as genuinely as you show up for your kids?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can recall 3. I can
Okay.
recall 3. It's crazy, they're all women. And I actually have some now, but like as like growing up as a kid, it was like I remember it was first grade. It was like one of my first grade teachers. I actually had did first grade multiple times, unfortunately, but I did get skipped up to my right grade. So, it was this first grade teacher that I had. I forgot her name, but I remember how she looked. It was this Caucasian lady. She was so sweet. And I was in foster care at that time. And I remember a really horrible thing happened. So I came back to class in the office. Like we had this whole thing. I come back to class and I'm just crying like like I leave out the office screaming, crying. I'm in the classroom screaming, crying. Like it's horrible. Like I'm just screaming, crying. And I remember the principal told her what happened, and I knew the adults was like, they all were looking like, oh my gosh, like, because the way the lady spoke to me, the foster mother at that time. And I think people were just a little nervous too, like how to go about the situation.
Yeah.
I remember she like I'm still crying, and another lady, like an aide, she's like hugging me and rubbing my back. And she stooped down to my level because she was leaving. And because I think she had got pregnant and she wasn't coming back.
Oh, okay.
She wasn't coming back, but she was like, you are a very smart girl and you're going to go on to do great things. And I need you to remember that, Julia. You understand? Do not let this stop you. Do not let what you're going through stop you. Because I think at that time, all the administrators, they did see the file case and the things that like me and my brothers and sisters went through. So it was like, oh, okay. Oh, so she's like, do not. And I'm like, I never understood what she was saying. I never understood any of that up until, like, I understood, okay, great things, cool. But until I started getting older, I'm like, okay, this is what she meant. Because this is affecting me. This is affecting how I'm going about things. This is affecting my childhood. This is affecting how I build relationships with people. But she told me, like, you are a very smart girl. And that always stuck with me. You are a very smart girl. And she was like, you are so gifted. You are so smart. And I'm like, okay, we got this. So even from her, I always remembered her growing up. Then the second one would be a counselor that I had in middle school. And it's crazy because at that point I was like so ducked off. Like, you can't say nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Like, no, I'm yelling, cussing out teachers. Yeah, I was that. Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Don't say nothing to make me mad. I'm cussing you out. But yeah, I remember she would just look at me and then she added me to this girl group, and you had to get like a certain ticket for the girl group. And she had me up in a girl group with girls who be fighting all the time. So I'm like, when am I in here? Because I don't be fighting all the time. I real life be chilling, but they kind of could tell like no. And she had me in there, and she was like, yeah, I have you in this group because it's something. It's something about you. I think you will learn. And although I was quiet for most of it, I'll talk here and there because I was very like closed off. So all
Yeah.
the other girls would be sharing stuff, and I'm like, I ain't sharing. Shoot, they ain't finna know my business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't. And then being there made me comfortable enough for when another situation happened, and I was crying yet again, but I hated crying at that point. I just went straight to her office, and I was able to talk to her about it. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like, you finally opened up a little bit. And I'm like, ma'am, anyway. But
He
yeah,
said, not the point.
yeah, like, please, you know. But she's like, you see, this is why I have you in the group. Because I knew it was something. And I'm like, okay. And then the last one would be my mentor, who also is my director now. But that's who I met my high school year. And she was just telling me about how she studied abroad. And she had got a job in China. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, where are you from again? And she was like, oh, I'm from Compton. And I'm like, what? She was like, yeah, I went to Washington Prep, and Washington Prep is right across the street from my house. And I'm like, you went to Washington, and you doing all of this? And she was like, yeah, I got my degrees from here. And she would just tell me, and she'll be typing at her computer like it's regular conversation, and I'm just mind blown. Like, what? You went here, you did this, and you from Compton, and you what? You went here, this high school, like this high school that people talk about when people go there, like what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, keep going, get your education. You wanna go to college? And I was like, yeah. I wasn't too sure how I was gonna get there, but then after she was like, no, I got you. I'm gonna help you. And she had helped me, and even now with me in the job role that I am, she helped me get there because I caught her crying like, I know I want to help children, but I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to be a principal. I thought I did. Like, they're not hitting the mission that I want to do, and I'm
Yeah.
not making any money from my nonprofit right now. So that's how I got into this field of helping children. And she was someone for me that was just like, dang, I see this Black woman doing it, and
Yeah.
I could do it too.
Wow. That's good. That made me a little emotional in the beginning. That made me a little emotional. That was good. I mean, I might be biased, but I love that they're all women. I love that they're all women because women don't always get a good rep for encouraging each other. And so the fact that these women were able to pour into you in a way that you can remember, especially for you to even remember like verbatim what your first grade teacher said to you, is powerful, even though you don't know her name. Like, if she could see you now, like, oh my gosh, she would be so proud. I mean, I'm proud of you. You are an inspiration to me, just the way that you continue to show up, like how you are. Like, you look the way you do, you talk the way you talk, you show up proudly, like, and you just excel wherever you're at. Like, people gravitate to you wherever you're at. You excel, you always know what to say. Like, yeah, I'm proud of you for showing up authentically, like all the time. All the time. Is there anything on your heart? Is there anything on your mind?
I think if there's anything that I would like to tell people, you can do it. You got this. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be a lot of crying. You may want to give up, but you can do it. And if no one else tell you, I believe in you. I tell my students the same thing. I believe in you. You can do it. You can persevere through it. Don't let anything stop you. The only person that can honestly stop you is you. And you have a choice whether to let the things you've been through stop you, or you can try to persevere and let it encourage you to be the person that you imagine for yourself. So keep going. Y'all got this. I believe in you. Don't make me take my belt off, okay?
That was good. That was motivational. Don't take your belt off. We don't want to get whooped. But one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the pod is because you are so multidimensional. You do show up authentically, and you work with the group that you feel like you are called to work with. And I wanted you to kind of speak on, you don't have to speak on your own personal experience, but like I want you to speak on kind of I'm trying to say this I'm trying to figure out how to say this, but like I want you to almost talk about / dispel the imposter syndrome that can come with, okay, I have not seen people do the things that I've done before. I am like, you do have this, you have this, but sometimes we can feel like, okay, like, am I equipped? Am I enough? Am I am I wise enough? You know, like how do you get over that? How do you make sure that you still show up and that you still do your best even when it's like uh, okay, Lord, like do I have enough today?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, and I'm not even gonna act like I have all the answers. I'm still going through that. Like I'm still learning how to navigate that. And I have been better this past year. I know the year before, 2023. It's 25, yeah.
Yes, so
2023. It was like I struggled with it the most. I had a very hard time, especially being someone who attended a PWI. It was
mm-hmm.
like what you don't know, to the point like I literally stopped being myself. I wasn't the happy, energetic, laughing, making jokes all the time. I was extremely reserved to the point people thought I was shy, and I'm like, I'm not shy at all. I actually talk a lot. I'm a yapper. But to the point people thought I was shy, to the point where I would get like really bad social anxiety, especially when it came to even answering a question in class. That still happens now. And I know every answer. Like I say it in my head, but I psych myself out. Like, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. What if you sound dumb? Oh my gosh, no. Like I just realized for me, it was a mind thing. And you wouldn't have, and I tell myself, you wouldn't have got where you are at if you weren't equipped enough to be in these spaces,
Yes.
to be in this room. And I have to just keep reminding myself of that. Like,
Yeah.
you have this. Like, you went through all of this and you gonna let a little voice in your head tell you that you wrong, that you can't do this when you can do this. So I'm still navigating it. It's just affirmations have been helping me, the motivation, and honestly seeing the smile on my students' faces and getting the feedback from them when I hear them just talk about me and how influential I have been in their lives. That honestly keeps me going. Like just motivating myself, the affirmations, and just sometimes I have to play through and think about what I've been through. And then like, dang, I'm not letting it stop me.
Right. If you could go through all of that, you got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Doug, I have two questions that I feel like are equally powerful in this moment. But I want to ask, what about your environment made you so reserved? Like what about being in a PWI made it like, you know, you weren't as bubbly, you weren't as talkative, you weren't as, you know.
I didn't see people like me. But not only I didn't see people like me, unfortunately the people that was around, they weren't so welcoming of me. And I was able to pinpoint it it was because of my skin color. Unfortunately, it was that. And I realized it was that. And that was very hard. I remember crying like really bad. Like I want to go home. I don't want to be out here anymore. I'll just commute. Like, but I found my people. But it was that. They weren't welcoming. It was like sometimes you'll have to get into group work and they'll ignore me. Like I'm trying to say stuff and I'm trying to like, hey, but they're just talking amongst each other. I'm the only black girl in the class. I'm also the only black girl in this group. Y'all are ignoring everything that I'm saying. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. And then after, like, what was you saying again? Oh yeah, like, or will repeat what I said for us to do like it was their idea. When I was like, I was saying this from the beginning. But then I also don't want to come off too strong because I don't want to be that angry black woman. So it was a very hard battle. Very hard battle between like I could speak up, I could be aggressive, but then that's what they're expecting out of me.
Yes.
But then it's also like I'm trying to make friends, I'm trying to talk to people, but then y'all not welcoming. You're looking at me, I'm like, hi. And you're like, and then you see someone else in there, you don't know them, and then they're smiling. And then I was able to pinpoint it, and it was hard. It was extremely hard, especially once I realized it was because of me, and not even because of me, but because of the body that I am in.
Right. I'm like, not because of you, but because of biases that they have. Yeah, not at all because of you. Yeah.
And that was hard. Like that was like, I will honestly say that was one of the hardest things in my life, which is crazy because I've been through so much, but that was like very hard to deal with because it was like really mentally, like it had such a mentally impact on me.
Yeah.
And also coming from where I come from and not necessarily having to go through that. Like I didn't have to go through those experiences because I always have been around Black people.
Look like
I've always
us.
been through, always been around Hispanic people. I've always been around, but it was only us. I I never was the minority.
Yeah.
I'm a minority. I never was actually the minority in any of the spaces that I entered. And
Yeah.
I actually was the minority, and I didn't know how to feel about that. I
Yeah.
didn't know how to navigate that.
Yeah. Do you feel like that is something that you try to prepare your students for? Or do you feel like that affects some of the conversations that you have with your students?
Yes, that affects the workshops that I do with my students. That affects the conversations that I have. I try to be as real as possible. I know they're like, well, you should know, be real and be honest. Because unfortunately, some people weren't as real and honest with me. So I had to go out there and find it on my own. And that almost broke me. And I don't want it to break my students. Because I almost did pack up my stuff and come home and not finish and be like, yeah, I'm over this. I'm going to just do what everyone else is doing. I don't even care. But I'm like, no, don't let it break you. It's crazy. I have a workshop coming up where I'm going to talk about college life, and we're going to talk about the imposter syndrome. We're going to talk about the racism and the microaggressions and how to get past that, because these are conversations that need to be had, because some of them been around our community, their own community, their whole lives. And this is going to be their first time going elsewhere.
Yeah.
And it may break them. And I don't want it to.
Yeah.
So we need to have these conversations and prepare them for that. And I sit down with my students, and even last summer, we even met one of the students, but even one of the boys, he was just lacking. He was slacking. And I remember I was like, I'm about to have a real actual conversation with you, not as your academic advisor, but someone who understands. And I said, you are a Black man, a Black male, and this is what they're expecting from you. And if you keep moving the way that you're moving, you're only going to prove them right, and you're not going to be able to meet the goals that you want to meet. Because of the way that you're acting and the way that you're not taking certain things serious. And I'm telling you this as someone who cares about you and someone who wants to see you win.
Yeah.
So be respectful, keep your head up, but take it serious. And after I had that conversation with him, he got his stuff together.
Yeah.
He got his stuff together. He was a ninth grader too. And I'm like, you got a lot to learn, but this is why I'm here, because I'm trying to teach you. This is more than just me wanting you to get a degree, me wanting you to get an education. This is just me wanting to see you do well
in life, right? Yes.
Period. No matter what stage and what you want to do, I just want to see you do good. I want to see you excel.
Yeah.
So get it together. And he got his stuff together. It was all three of them. They figured it out. They got it together.
The three in the back?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I was like, I'm not playing with y'all. I'm going to have these real conversations with y'all, because unfortunately, this is real. This is the world. And it's hard out here. It's hard, and we can't fully prepare you, but I can give you a couple of things that you can take to adulthood and into life.
Yeah. And quite honestly, that's guidance that you can give him that you probably can't get anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of our people, I mean, my mom went to a PWI, but I didn't know a lot of people who, one, went to college, but two, went to PWIs. Like could tell me as a young person the real genuine truth about microaggressions and racism. And like, of course, they could tell you about it in the workforce, but from people who are the same age as you, people who you are probably smarter than, you know? So that's a real life experience that you can give them. When you were at school, I know you were saying like there were a couple of times where you just wanted to pack it up and come home and be done. What was kind of your fuel at that time? What was your, okay, well, let me not drop out. Let me not leave school. You know, what kind of kept you there?
Going home and seeing people doing the same thing we was doing when we was kids. And also, I'm not going to let y'all bully me up out of here. Yeah, that literally, it was that. Seeing them do the same old thing, it's like, yeah, I don't want to do this. I don't want to just be doing the same old thing and seeing people doing the same old stuff. But it was also that, like, I'm not finna let y'all bully me up on out of here. I ain't gonna give up. I ain't give up all these. I should have been gave up if I was gonna give up. But I'm not gonna let this make me give up. So no, let me prove y'all wrong. Let me prove y'all wrong.
That's good. That's good. And then I know you were saying like, you know, affirmations and just positive self-talk and uplifting yourself is a huge part of what you do right now. What is your go-to affirmation right now, or your favorite?
I feel like it's slowly changing. It's crazy. I'm literally replaying like things that I went through as a child. Like, that's literally been my push. Like, you've been in foster care. You was raised just by your dad. You yearned for your mother, but unfortunately she was not there. But you still able, but you still got your AA degrees in high school. You still got your bachelor's and finished in 3 years. You really about to have your master's. That's been pushing me every time I think about it. You're about to have your master's. You would have never thought you was going to get your master's. And literally, I just replay that. I'm driving sometimes to work and I'm just not in the mood. Don't even want to go to school the same day after work. But then it's just like, you went through this. You went through this, but you still accomplished this. You still accomplished this. And keep going. And that's like, that literally gives me the momentum. Like, literally, it gives me like that. You know what? You're right. Like, you know, went through this, you went through this. And sometimes I just have to sit back and I literally have to, I feel like I tried to, at some point, erase that part of my life. Because I was a little ashamed. I was ashamed about it. Like, I was ashamed that, like, yeah, I was in foster care. Or, you know, yeah, these things did happen when I was in foster care. And I did kind of go through some traumatic experiences. But it's just like, it pushes me. It's just like, man, girl, keep going. Like, what is you doing? Like, what is you talking about? Like, you over here crying like that? Hey, nah.
Oh, Julia, please. You have to,
I be giving myself grace. You need to cry. I be happy sometimes, you know.
Julia, you have to cry. Honestly, first of all, that's a great affirmation, because it means that you're proud of yourself. Like, it means that you take the time to acknowledge the fact that you can be proud of yourself. Like, that in itself is huge, Julia. Yeah.
I try to be. Sometimes I do say I'm proud of you. When I go through that, and I think about that and I'm saying it, and then at the end it's like, I'm proud of you. Like, I do. That's been a very powerful affirmation, especially because I didn't hear that a lot. Of course, my dad and my family are very proud of me. Unfortunately, we're just not people who vocalize like the I love you and stuff. Yeah. So it was just like, I have to tell myself sometimes, like, I'm proud of you. Like, you got this. You could do it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, I want to end with like a fun, quirky question to like let people know more about you, but just to like lighten up and go like talk about something a little left field than what we've been talking about. So my quirky question is, what is something right now that you can't live without?
Pickles. Don't take it from me, or we gonna be locking. I love me some pickles.
It was the no hesitation. It was the absolute no hesitation.
Yeah. Pickles. I love me some pickles. Like, I can eat a whole jar in a day. I have to force myself. So to the point, I do have like different pickles that I like to. So yeah, I like the little hamburger. Yes, the pickle chips, but they have to be. I forgot the brand name. I know exactly how it looks though.
Is it like the blue ones with the like kosher, like the blue ones with the bird on it?
No, them are disgusting. I hate those pickles. But it has a green top though. It's in the refrigerator. You only find it in the refrigerator section. Yeah, they are a little pricier. Grillos. I literally know it. Like, I literally know it, but I know exactly where that it's an issue, because I literally sent my boyfriend to go give me some pickles. And he was like, I can't find them. But it's because he was looking where the other pickles be at. I don't like the pickles.
Oh, you don't like them regular pickles. You like high quality pickles.
Yes, they have to be. I have to be able to put them in the refrigerator. I was like, this is where they at in the same store I get them from. And he was like, yeah, this is bad, because you knew exactly where they were at. And I'm like, yep, they're right there, and you're not even here. I said, yeah, because and I was like, make sure you get the ones that go like the sandwich ones where you put on the side, the sandwich ones, but you also got to get the flat ones for if I'm sandwich, and the hamburger ones. Them three. I like Grillos. I think that's how you say it.
Grillos. Okay.
They're on the pricier side, refrigerated as well. But I always have to get 3 different type of pickles. Oh, Trader Joe's, they have some pretty good pickles too.
Okay.
I just tried that for the first time. Some of their
like pickles. Trader Joe's brand. Okay.
The Trader Joe brand is in the refrigerator. I told you, everything refrigerated. Okay, everything refrigerated. They are dill. Everyone is dill though. They're like a pickle.
Those would be the best. I don't want a sweet pickle. I don't like a sweet pickle. Okay. Yes, dill is the best.
I can't do it. Yeah, all of those pickles though. Sometimes I'm like, I just need some pickles right now, and I'm just sitting in bed eating some pickles with the jar. But that's how I end up eating the whole jar, because I was just sitting down eating and playing on Roblox on my iPad, and down, and there was no more pickles.
Julia, we should play Roblox. We should play Roblox like tonight if you have the energy.
I actually do. It's 7:00. Yeah, I do. I actually have the time too, because I'm like, oh yeah, I have enough time to Yeah.
Okay, period. Oh, yay. Okay, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so not ready to be done talking to you. Like, I miss you so much, and I just saw you yesterday, but I'm like, okay, but if we can play Roblox, then okay. Okay, I have to ask, because I've never asked before, where did the love for pickles start? Where did that come from?
I was a kid, and I was still staying with my mom. Like, I remember this verbatim. I remember they bought some pickles, and she set it on the table, and I was a really picky eater. She set it on the table, and I was just looking at them like, I'm not eating that. Honestly, I didn't eat nothing she cooked. I was just so mean. I was a mean kid.
Little girls are like a little mean. I was a mean little girl. I don't know.
Yeah, and then here go my dad. My dad was able to just be able to get me to do anything she couldn't get me to do. It was horrible. She was like, she doesn't like me. He's like, she does like you.
Oh.
I feel so bad. Like, why were you so mean to her? But she had it on the table, and I remember going over, picking one up, eating it, and I was like, And I remember I just grabbed the jar, and I'm just eating it. And she came and grabbed it and was like, no, you don't eat pickles like that. And he was like, give her the pickles.
Right. If she eat it, let her eat it.
He was like, give her the pickles. So then he grabbed it, gave her, and I ate the whole jar. And then I started drinking the juice too. It was a wrap.
Yeah.
Ever since then, I would be sitting with the jar of pickles. They knew to keep a jar of pickles away from me because I was going to sit down and eat the whole thing.
The whole jar. Oh my gosh. And is this like a pickle exclusive thing? Or do you also like, I like pickles, but I like Kool-Aid pickles the most. I like Kool-Aid pickles the most. And then I like a spicy pickle. Like, I love a hot pickle. But I like dill pickle chips, like potato chips. Mm-hmm. So is your love exclusively for pickles themselves, or do you also like pickle flavored things?
I like pickle flavored things. I actually have some chips, some pickle flavored Trader Joe chips at my house. They're a little. I feel like I did have better before. I had other better pickle chips before, but it depends what it is, kind of. But anything pickle, I do like pickle. A spicy pickle, I gotta crave a spicy pickle to be like.
I love a spicy pickle.
I just love just the regular dill pickle. I do like Kool-Aid pickles, but it depends because sometimes it's too much for me. Whereas like, take the Kool-Aid off, let me just eat the pickle. I just want the pickle.
But you know what? Like when I first came out here, but you know, like when we was in middle school, they was selling like Kool-Aid pickles, Kool-Aid gummy worms. And when I was younger, like when I still lived in Mississippi, my peepaw, like we would go to little corner stores. Like my Uncle Kenny, he had a corner store and he would sell Kool-Aid pickles. Or like my peepaw, he would make Kool-Aid pickles. And so how they made it in Mississippi was different than how they would make it when they would sell it at school. And I would be like, y'all eating this wrong. Like y'all not letting these soak for 3 days and 3 nights. Like y'all just putting the Kool-Aid in there and shaking it up. It's supposed to be like juice.
I think literally everyone's is literally different because the way that I like mine with the powder Kool-Aid. But I grew up eating it like that. Like I don't like the soaking because I don't know. I feel like the ones that I did have that was soaked, they had it soaked in like pickle juice Kool-Aid. And I wasn't a fan of that. I was like, I'm not a fan of this at all.
Oh, yeah.
So, that wasn't really, like, my go-to. But I also think I like pickles so much because I realized I do like vinegary things. Vinegar. So, like, this is a zesty garlic pickle. Love it. I love garlic pickle.
You might have to introduce me to that one. That actually sounds good.
So fine. I love me some garlic, too. So, when I found out, I was like, oh, I love this. I remember eating like 3 in one sit, and I was like, no. And that's the whole pickle. Do make your lips feel like weird a little bit to the end. I'm like, I gotta stop. My lips all soggy.
Okay, well that's unique. That is unique. So the one thing you can't live without is a good pickle. Well, Julia, thank you for being here. One, for being a huge piece of encouragement for me as I've been doing the podcast, but also for being a huge inspiration to me. Like to be so close to you, to be so close that I can see and touch your excellence has been an honor. And I love the way that you show up for your kids. And I love the fact that you can show up and be who you are for your kids and that they love you for it and accept you for it. And that you know that you are inspiring them. Like the work that you do is not only for them, but it's also for you. Like you continuously just set the bar higher. So I'm so grateful to have you in the classroom today. Like you just dropped so many gems. You inspire so many people and you don't even know yet.
Thank you so much for having me. I just love the podcast. I love everything that you are doing. You're doing so great. I am very proud of you and just seeing
Thank you.
how much the podcast has evolved. My gosh, it's becoming such a big girl. So
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
just love our friendship and I love having you around and just being your friend, girl. Forever. Okay.
We is forever, okay? And then text me when you get home.
Okay.
Text me when you get home so that we can play Roblox. And for everybody else, hi classmates, thank you for being here. I'm so glad you got to be here. I'm so glad you got to take away these gems. I love y'all. If you like this episode, share it with somebody. Share it with an educator or an administrator. Share it with somebody who works with kids. Share it with somebody who wants to work with kids. Share it with somebody in their master's program. Share it with somebody that you love because you love them, because this is not an episode that they want to miss. I love y'all. It's April 1st, Friday, April 11th. We are doing our second Friday night live. If you showed up to the first one, shout out to you. Love you. We are doing our second Friday night live, and I believe we're going to be talking about HBCUs. So that's going to be a cool conversation. And just the experience doing that. If we don't end up talking about HBCUs, then it'll just be me yapping. But April 11th and then April 16th, there are two very important things happening that day. One, Julie is graduating. So we're going to come back. You said what? May 16th. Two very important things happening on May 16th. One, Julia is graduating. So we're going to come back. We're going to say congratulations to Julia. Okay. But also, we're going to have a live podcast, live, sit down, in person. By the time this episode comes out, we pray I will have made a flyer and started doing advertisements. If I haven't, this is the advertisement. I need to get on. I need to do the flyers. I need to start promoting. But I want you all there for both of those events. Keep your eyes, nose, ears, elbows out for both of those events. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all next week.